pen. Yes, still using the right pen. So once more, where do I want to start? Let's see this, right? If I do this, right, that line, it may not seem like much, but it's me, again, planning out my page so that, is that line the same length of those eyes up there? And then how does that correspond to kind of coming up, for that spike? And I think that does work. And then coming down for like the ground right here. I'm going to have a little bit of a space right here at the bottom. So now, is there any way I can actually just like lower this a little? Well, yeah, there is a way we can do it because it's just a line right now. We can always come back and figure out some way to clean that up a little bit later on. So I'll just lower that just a little bit. Okay, something of the head down here. Got the eyeballs in there. Right, some things I don't quite clearly see in my reference image, but from some of my previous sketches, I see them in there. And I will use this center line that I've already started. And I see a spike kind of coming out in this direction. And there's another one kind of coming at us right here, and the contour line around that. This part seems to transition down into this area over here. Seems to go back and not as big as I need it to be. I think this should actually go further. And then this should even go further there. So then this little spike comes here. And this is that shape. That. So because I started in pen, I got a lot of sort of cleaning up to do afterwards. This one would have been nice maybe to have done in marker first, give myself a little more flexibility. We have the leg kind of like this one's kind of lying down compared to some of the previous sketches. So the leg starts sitting down like that. It's kind of black mass underneath where I don't clearly see anything. I have the other leg sort of coming out over here. Again, this sort of mass where I don't quite see as much detail underneath. Maybe I can figure out some things later on what's going on in there. And I see this and that and something going on right there. And I do want to show that this thing is like right on the ground. So I will kind of draw the shadow below it. Yeah, I think that works. Again, this one got a little messy, but maybe we can clean it up with our details and hatching, which will be the next thing to do with this. Again, if we were to then just put our name and date in the corner here. Six is the sixth day. Yes, it is the 6th. Right, and get rid of this for now. Right, we can see that I mostly was able to keep with that grid. Right, in this instance, right, let's get rid of the sketch for a moment as well. Pen, right, again, this grid, I started out wanting to be, again, cancel. I want to sketch on my notes, right? I start out wanting to do this column with 3 sketches in it, right? And I wanted fairly even spacing in between where I would have sketches, also fairly even spacing between the edges of my page here. Then, right, I want to do another sketch, and I thought it would be nice to lengthen that sketch up a little bit. And because of that, I knew that I couldn't fit the same sketch right here of doing that longer landscape orientation. I could not fit the same thing next to it. So I kind of rotated that here, and that determined that I would need something that had that more vertical portrait orientation to it. And lastly, I was left with this big space. Now, this big space, I decided that I wanted to try to put a bigger sketch in there. I could have said, oh no, I want to also do another smaller sketch in here and maybe 2 smaller sketches next to it. That would have been fine as well. But this is what I decided to do, was again just focusing on that bigger sketch, because I do like to, as I keep going, do bigger sketches. If I had done this way, maybe inside of these smaller sketches, I might have like done close-ups of something like the eyeball of the tree hopper bug here. And another thing I might have done a close-up of was an interesting section of it. Not the spike, that's too obvious. Maybe something about the leg, right? Because I didn't really draw it that large at all. So if I could find a reference that looked closer at the segment of the leg and might have realized that there might be like little spikes or something on that, that would have been a nice call out detail to do in there. And then I would need one more sketch in here, and that might have been nice for something also similarly tall. And I think we saw one of those that I didn't choose to do, but would have been like just a slightly different orientation on the tree hopper bug in there. It might have been a nice opportunity to even call out, right, those details, that this leg, right, is a detail of this right here, and this eyeball is a detail, right, of that eyeball right there. So there's like a slightly alternative layout to the one that it ended up doing. But let's go back to the one that I did do and how I'm going to sort of clean it up. We got the pen here. And we got the pen here. And what do I want to do? Let's give ourselves a title. All right, this is the thorn bug, also like a tree hopper, but let's go with thorn bug. Sorry. I try not to undo with digital as much as possible unless there's some sort of technical error happening. And then this, it's doing this weird thing where it's making, all right, that's better. When I was doing my vertical line, it was making it fatter in the middle when it shouldn't. Thorn bug. What are my favorite sketches on here? I really like this top one. I really like this top one right here. I really like this one a lot. What else do I like? I like this little one down in the corner. And I want to clean up this line work right here. So let's go with this one first in terms of adding some detail to it to help clean that up and cover up some of those mistakes I made when I was sketching it. So looking at the reference, and let's pull that reference closer to the pen work. First thing I think I'm going to do is I think I will just make it easy on myself, and I know I want to just fill this down in here with hatching. And I want to do that because I can't quite see what's going on in there. So just by filling it in with this hatching will save me from having to look at any detail that's going on inside. It'll give me some quick contrast and a starting point for other contrast and reference that I might put into this sketch here. Right, this just gives me a little time to think about what I want to do with the rest of the sketch, right? So I'm literally trying to buy myself some time here. What else we have? We have the light coming down in this direction because I see in our reference, or we see a big spotlight sort of on that surface right there, which means it's going to get darker as it goes to the other side. So I think I'll try doing some hatching to show the form there, which kind of provides me a nice opportunity to do some hatching right here. And I think that even starts to cover up just a little bit of that first line error that I made by doing that that contour just a little too low. So some hatching right there. And then if that's right there, that kind of continues along right here. We do have the pattern in here of like where there's the orange and the green areas, but I'm going to ignore that right now. I'm just going to focus on trying to show form in this sketch. We got the thorn right here. So that, I kind of want that to pop out and come at us. Then got the other thorn over here. I'm just going to make that one pretty much darker, but I still want to just do some subtle hatching to that. So even if it gets darker, you see just the subtlest hint of form in there. You see like this right here, but that's just going to be covered up with some hatching. Same thing right here. Just kind of this little round area in there. Now with this, I'll just do some hatching in there, that, and like this. And that. Get some hatching in here to show that this thing is kind of round. Again, trying to save some space at the top of all of these where light might be hitting it. The eyeball in here. I know it doesn't necessarily have a pupil like we have one, but it's just an easy starting point for where to make my hatching around in there. And down here, again, that's in the dark underneath in the shadow, so I'm not going to worry about putting too much more details in there. But some hatching just helps differentiate it from that flat hatching behind it. This leg back here, I'm going to make that just kind of go flat and dark. This leg over here, we can just give a little roundness to it, even if we make the whole thing dark in there. This leg in here, I can just kind of see just a little bit of roundness to it. As same thing with this leg over here. Again, just leaving a little space at the bottom underneath my hatching lines right there to help show that this thing is round and hint at that it's round. So we got a little hatching right in here. And I'm also going to say there's just a little hatching, well, it's a little gradient right here, or that. A little gradient in there. Maybe hint at all this little dotted texture to it. So if I do that along the surface there and some bumps at the edge of some of my hatching right here, to give that texture there, that texture there, a little more hatching right here, spread those lines apart. Allows me to kind of keep going across right there, right there. And now lastly, maybe put some little details. And there's a little darker spot underneath right here, there, before we go into the wing. And on the wing, we can start to hint at some of the texture I see in there, but I'll be kind of loose with it because I know I don't want to put too much detail towards the back end of this. Maybe we can put, again, a little hatching on the front end to get some more detail in there, but not too much at the back end. Switch up to a thicker pen for some things that are in front of others, especially like this little horn sticking out in front of things behind it. A little layering like that right there. We'll take the page just to sketch that in there. And I do have the wing kind of coming out here and right there as well. Got the leg kind of sticking out here. And of course this leg sticking out here. That allows you just to clean up those lines just a little bit. Body underneath. And there's that. And highlights. So get my white pencil out. Oh, I've moved it. Get my white pencil out, and I know I want a little highlight, definitely like right here, right there. And I think, oh, also a little bit right there. And now come back, right, try and get those, some little dots in there, kind of the opposite of doing the shadow for the texture. Some highlights for the texture there. Not too much. Trying to keep my highlights in this front area right here. Maybe just a little bit right there with a few bright spots. And a little bit right there. All right. And I think